Mamas, Laura here, and today we're introducing our third food to baby. So just to recap, we first did homemade bone broth, and she's been doing great with that. She really loved it. So I've been doing that at least once a day. And then we also introduced our second food, which was a soft-boiled egg yolk, just the yolk portion. I did want to mention that if you have an egg allergy yourself or in your family, or if your child has a suspected egg allergy, please don't use that food as your second introduction food. But if you have no reason to believe that there's any concern for allergies, then it's a great food. But again, the yolk is not as allergenic as the white is, like we mentioned before. But today we're going to move on to avocado. So if you are like, I don't really want to do the bone broth of a soft-boiled egg, avocado is an awesome first food as well. The only downside of it is it doesn't contain the iron that those meat foods will, but it's still a great option, and I'm using it as my third food. The reason we choose an avocado is it's high in fat, so remember, babies need fat for their brain development. Breast milk is about 55% fat, so we want to try to mimic that in the foods that we're introducing. We don't want to just go to introducing foods that have absolutely no fat in them. Babies like fat and they need it. So monounsaturated fat is great for them. It's also really easy to digest, especially the riper avocados. So let's talk about how to choose an avocado if you're not familiar with it or if you don't consume them on a regular basis. So again, I recommend getting organic if you can. These are technically on the clean 15, meaning that they don't have as many pesticides as some other fruits and vegetables, but I would still try to get organic. We just want to reduce the pesticide exposure for baby as much as possible. So wash this off before you use it. When you're choosing an avocado, you want to pick one that is not as green. So when they're green, they're less ripe. So this one here still has a decent amount of green on it. When you give it a squeeze, it's going to be a little bit harder. That means it's not quite ready. Also, if you pop off the top here, the little stem, if it's still green underneath, that means that it might not be ready to consume. This one's going to be a little bit riper, so you can see it's starting to brown more evenly all around. It's soft to the touch. You don't want it mushy though, because that means it's too ripe, but you want it to be pretty soft. What I typically do is buy a bunch in different phases, and I leave some out and leave some in my refrigerator, and then kind of pull them out of the refrigerator as they need to ripen. They will still ripen in the refrigerator, just much slower, so it kind of preserves them a little bit. Technically, you're not supposed to put them in the refrigerator, but you know, when they're on sale, I buy a ton and try to keep them as long as possible. So how you want to go about cutting this bad boy open, so you just want to take a knife and just either, a lot of times what I'll do is cut like a section out, or you can cut it all the way around in half, okay, and then scoop it out from there. A lot of people ask me, well, what's the best way to preserve an avocado? Because once you open it, it feels like you have to consume the whole thing, otherwise it's gonna go bad. So when I twist it open, I'm going to leave the pit in, I'm gonna leave the shell on, and then I'm just gonna put it in an airtight container. This part will turn slightly brown. That doesn't mean it's bad, it's just oxidized, so you can just scrape that off the next time you go to eat it, or just eat it, it doesn't matter. And everything underneath is still gonna be green and ready to go. So as long as you consume it within a day or two after cutting it, so if you just do half one day, half another day, you're gonna be fine. So this one is actually a little less ripe than I would even like. You want it to not be so green, for baby that is. You want it to be less green around the outside, but this is a riper one. I have one here that I've already let go a couple of extra days, so it's really soft. And all you're gonna do is put some in a bowl and just mash it up a little bit, okay? So you wanna get rid of the chunks, but you don't have to make it so fine that, it's okay to have some texture, okay? So one thing I wanna mention about introducing food to baby is that they might gag, and that's okay. And as a first-time parent, when your kid is like, and then just spits up everywhere, you freak out and you're like, oh my gosh, they're choking, they're gonna die, and you're trying to hit them on the back. That's what I did anyways. And then you kind of realize babies actually have a really good way of preventing themselves from choking. So they have a more sensitive gag reflex, but they are able to prevent it from going down the wrong pipe. So when they are coughing and getting it up, they're actually doing what biologically they're designed to do. So they're learning through this process. There's a difference between choking down your esophagus and choking down your windpipe. So there's a difference if they cannot breathe and they are like turning blue, then you want to take them out and perform some sort of Heimlich maneuver. But we're talking about when babies are just kind of gagging because they're not used to that more solid feeling, and they might spit up. So don't freak out. That's happened to her already one time. It might happen today, who knows? But especially as we get into the more solid foods. So when I introduced the egg yolk, I did it really runny, and then actually what I did a couple other times was let it harden a little bit, or it was kind of a semi-solid, and I put it on her tray and kind of let her guide the process. So a question that I get all the time is, how much should they be eating? You want to have some? How much should they be getting? Because, you feel like, oh my gosh, they need to be getting a certain amount and need to kind of keep forcing them to eat. Baby will let you know when he or she is done eating. So when they're fussing and they're turning their head away and they're clearly just not interested anymore, that means they've had enough, and that's okay. You don't have to hit a certain quota, because remember, foods at this point are complementary. They are not taking the place of feedings. You're still feeding breast milk or formula or combination at the same rate that you were before, so still offering the same amount. You're not doing this in place. Children are what we call intuitive eaters, so that means that they have the ability to know how much that their body needs. They're going to seek out the foods that are nutrient dense and mineral rich and vitamin rich, and they're going to eat as much as they need of it until they're done. So don't worry about, are they getting enough, are they not? The goal with any child feeding at this age, at any age, you want to make a wide variety of nutritious foods available, and they'll be able to self-regulate. You can get into trouble when you start introducing processed foods, things that don't have a lot of nutritional value, especially a lot of the grain-based processed baby foods. They will just eat and eat and eat them because there's no nutrition. So they're just going to keep eating and eating to try to get the same amount of nutrients that they would get from a more nutrient-dense food. So that can lead to overeating behaviors. So we don't really want that. So again, just make the food available, feed them as much as they are willing to have. So the other question, again, how often? So right now we're trying to do it about 2 times a day. So usually in the morning and then around dinner time is what I've been doing. And if you miss one, again, it's not the end of the world. They will make up for it by drinking more breast milk or whatever they need. So we're just trying to get in a new routine right now. But basically introducing maybe the new food in the morning and then a familiar food in the evening, so one that they've already been introduced. So when you're feeding your breast milk or formula, you want to feed as normal, then wait a little bit, maybe an hour or so. So you want to feed them first so that they're not just filling up on foods, because then again, that's going to cause them to start replacing food with their milk, and they still need their milk at this age. So feed, wait a little bit, let them get hungry, and then introduce this food, and then maybe in an hour or 2 they will feed their milk again. So this is kind of just stuck in the middle there, complementary, not in replacement of their milk. Okay. What you'll probably notice as they start eating solid food is that their stool is changing. So I've already noticed that with her. It's going to start getting more solid. With avocado, it might be a little green, so don't freak out, especially when we start doing more vegetables and things. You're going to notice the colors. So that's totally normal. Okay, but again, we want to just keep making this food available to them so that they can eat as much as their bodies feel that it needs. And some kids are going to enjoy it more than others. Some meals are going to go better than others. So she's not extremely hungry today, but we're going to keep trying, huh? So a lot of this is just learning. It's just them learning about how much they want or what they need. It's okay. It's okay. I know. So I'm just going to keep going with this, keep offering it, try to get her to smile, open her mouth a little bit. But again, I'm not like you have to eat all this or anything like that. So we're just looking for some taste and some nutrition, huh? All right, so avocado is our second food. I'm going to keep giving this to her every day for a couple more days, make sure there's no adverse reactions. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. She hasn't reacted strongly to anything. No like gas or uncomfortableness, no skin reactions, so I'm feeling pretty good moving forward with some other foods. So we're just going to keep plugging at this, and then check us out next time to see what foods we do next. So again, she's about almost 6.5 months old, so we've already done 3 foods, and then we're going to move a little bit quicker after this one. All right, thanks guys.